what to do, what to do, what to do, what to do, what to
So, gardening is my new pet hobby, gardening and chickens. I love chickens a lot, and I'm going to speak briefly about them too, kind of getting started with chickens and some things that I've learned the hard way in my past year and a half as a chicken lady. It's not very long, but I've learned a lot. I want to first begin by discussing the global perspective of why gardening is important. As Taryn mentioned, I have spent many years banging my head against the wall politically, whether it was GOP, Ron Paul politics, or state legislature, city council, whatever it is. I found myself there beating my head against the wall. We'd have some small victories, but ultimately every single year the state would encroach further and further upon our liberties. And no small victory can really compare to body scanners in the airports and red light cameras on the streets and speed cameras on the streets and sound cameras on the streets and just all these, surveillance apparatuses that are growing up around us. And I realized that in order to truly do something to become more free, I had to stop participating in that system, and I had to start living a self-sufficient, sustainable, in the true sense of the word sustainable, but a truly sustainable lifestyle. And that means I needed to transition myself to a point where I wasn't paying an income tax because I didn't have an income. I wasn't buying food from a grocery store that was shipping, my tomatoes from halfway across the continent. It meant getting to know the people in my community and living a truly localized lifestyle. And I began that transition in 2010. I had done some small gardening projects, like in containers before, but 2010, I was exhausted that summer, and I decided I wanted to live on a farm. I wanted to learn how to do this. So I found a live-to-work situation in Dripping Springs, Texas, where I lived in a camper for 6 months. That was quite an experience. All my stuff fit in this little tiny car, and I was out in the garden every single day. I was there for the summer and fall harvest and the fall and winter planting seasons, and I really learned a lot. There were some tough lessons that I learned, but I would say it was one of the most valuable experiences of my life. So if any of you have the opportunity to take 6 months and go live on an existing farm and really learn how people in your community are growing food, I would recommend you do it. And there are resources for that. There's a website called WOOF. I can't remember the acronym. It's like Worldwide Organic Farming. There's another O in there. But it's www.oof.org, and you can find farms that are accepting people to come and stay. So as a global perspective, as our economy gets worse, as our political machine grows, if that system begins to crumble, which it inevitably will, the dollar will start to crumble. We might rather soon hit hyperinflation. It could be far out, but either way, the dollar is becoming more worthless. You see your grocery store bills going up. It is important that we are decentralizing our food supply systems, and the most decentralized that you can be is growing food in your own backyard. The next level up would be trading vegetables with your neighbors and people in your, walking distance community, and then of course going to your local farmers market and branching out from there. But if you can try and start focusing as much of your energy in a less and less centralized manner when you're purchasing food, when you're eating, if you go to restaurants, try and shop local. So for a global perspective, it's really important. If we want to live free, we consider ourselves sovereign beings, we have to start behaving like them. And that means we have to start taking care of ourselves and eating locally. Gardening also improves our health. You're outside in the sun, you're getting exercise, you're getting fresh air, which we don't get when we're sitting at the computer talking about libertarian philosophy and telling everyone how right we are when our backyard is just a big grass. That's great, but we could be so much more. We could be outside taking care of our bodies. Not to mention, when you eat fresh food, the food has the opportunity to absorb more nutrients from the earth. A lot of times when you go to the grocery store, you buy food that is green harvested, meaning they harvest the food before it is ripe. And the food did not have the opportunity to absorb as many nutrients. That's why when you go to the grocery store, you buy a conventional or non-organic tomato, you cut it open, it almost looks white and mushy inside. It's because it's nothing, it's just this watery cellulose fiber. There's no sustenance in it. And when you allow the vegetable to fully ripen on the vine, it's allowed to absorb everything that Mother Nature is designed for it to absorb so that it can provide to you those same nutrients. So moving to a more nutritious lifestyle allows us to live as sovereign beings because we don't have to go to the doctor as frequently, we're not going to get sick as frequently, we're taking better care of our body, we are moving in a direction toward sustainability, toward sovereignty, and toward truly living free. We can no longer just talk the talk, we have to start walking the walk because our freedom is on the line right here, and we are reaching a point where we could be reaching a global technological dictatorship, the infrastructure is being set up, or we could be stopping that from happening by simply taking care of ourselves. And that's what I would like to see happen, and that's what I think is possible, but it's going to take changing our lives slowly. I did not make changes overnight. It really took a long time, changing one aspect of my diet, planting one food in my garden, really one thing at a time. It started with high fructose corn syrup, and I just slowly started changing my diet. Now I don't do gluten, I don't eat dairy products like cow's milk, because it makes me break out. I went to a naturopath, found out, wow, I've been putting chemicals on my face and being embarrassed my whole life, public speaking with acne, and then all it took was not eating dairy products. And it was changing my diet and taking ownership of my life, and I feel blessed that I've been able to walk this path because I feel more healthy, I feel more vibrant, and I feel like I'm leading a better example for my daughter. Whereas, 2 years ago, before I even had the idea I would ever have a daughter in my life, I probably wasn't eating in a way that we would like each young child, to be eating. So it's been an evolution, and you all can go down that journey if you haven't already. You can start today. And it just takes learning and understanding what food is, where it comes from, and what is done to it before you eat it. Now, as I said, there's a learning curve with gardening. It's not easy. It is a process. And you can't buy a survival seed bank on the internet and think that you're going to be living free when the dollar collapses. It doesn't work that way. It takes years to understand how tomatoes grow in your backyard, where the shade hits your yard just right, where the rain falls just right, where your backyard ecosystem is providing the proper environment for each type of plant that you are growing back there. It takes years to figure that out, let alone just to understand the whole process of food and soil and sun and water and decomposition and compost and all these things. It takes years to figure this stuff out. So you have to start today. You have to start thinking about it today, acting on it today, and working on it every single day because it's not easy. It's hard to figure out. But once you get going and you understand the processes, it just becomes the most absolute joy. Now, one thing that I would recommend, because there is such a learning curve, and gardening is such a local practice, that you walk through your neighborhood and you see who already has gardens and you talk to them. And you discuss gardening with them. And you see what works in their garden, you see what sorts of fruits and vegetables and herbs that they are growing, and you can go home and take their ideas and put them in your backyard. That's the best place to start, in your own neighborhood, walking around, finding gardens, and people love to talk about their gardens. They love it. All you have to do is knock on the door and say, hey, can you give me a tour of your garden? And you will learn so much more than you could ever imagine about gardening from that simple question. People love to share gardening information. They love to teach others. They love to compare the trying things. So do not be afraid. Do not be shy. It's hard in politics to go up and say, hey, I want to talk to you about libertarian philosophy and sovereignty. Some people are standing there in your face. Gardening, wide open door. Let me get you some tea. Let's spend a couple hours in the backyard because I love my garden. I love to show it off. So there is a learning curve. It takes a lot of time, but it starts with curiosity, it starts with asking questions, and it starts with experimenting. My gardening history briefly, I already mentioned it. I started in container gardens and moved to a farm for 6 months where it was already fully operational, and then John and I moved into the property we live on now, which is 2.5 acres. There, was no gardening type anything set up. We did have a chicken coop already there, so we quickly got chickens, which was great, and I'll talk about that later. But the gardening in our property we just started with what we had. We used the flower beds that were around the house, and that's where we started, planting corn. We had trellis fence around the patio, so we put vine plants there. And we slowly began to build raised beds out of cinder blocks. And we were on the internet and we were looking at all these different models, and I'll discuss in detail why we chose to do things the way we did. But we use a model called hugelkultur, which is where you bury wood underneath the soil. It decomposes and it provides nutrients and also provides heat to the roots so it will land longer and further into the winter season or earlier into the spring season. And I'll talk about the benefits of that in more detail later. But we use hugelkultur cinder block beds, and we started with one, and it took a lot of time for us to make it happen. There was a lot of manual labor, it was a lot of work, but we figured it out. We decided what we're going to do different with the next one, and a couple months later we built the next one, and a couple weeks later we built another one, and then a week later we built another one. People started coming to our house and volunteering. We started giving them produce as it came in, and now every single Sunday we recruit people come out on Sundays. New beds are being built every week. Food is being planted every week. We are actively and aggressively plowing forward, but it took us a good year and a half, starting with just the two of us, of having a vision, working toward it, telling others, bringing them in, and it was slow and it was laborious, but it got easier and easier and easier as every month, every week went by. So I just want to give you my personal history so that you can feel empowered to start out slow and to work hard and to feel exhausted and to take your time. It's okay if it takes 2 months to build your first bed, as long as you're out there working on it and you're learning how to do it and you're actively moving forward. It doesn't matter how fast it is. So don't feel discouraged if it's taking you, we thought, oh, we're going to build this bed tomorrow and then we're going to plant it tomorrow. No, that doesn't happen. And our hearts broke a couple of times as we realized our self-imposed deadlines, were unrealistic. So I want to encourage you to be realistic and to take your time and to enjoy the process, because no matter how many people who can holler about the economy collapsing tomorrow, the dollar's already collapsing. It's going to be a slow process. It's happening in waves. You can learn to garden in waves, but just start. Move forward. And as your excitement catches on, it will get to a point where it's just, we have people working on our garden right now at our house, taking care of it while we're gone. And they're people that we've worked side by side with long enough that we trust them to be able to do it. And I just find that absolutely awesome. Last year we came to PorcFest and the whole garden died because we had left an irresponsible 2 young kids. We were responsible for our garden, and you know what? We came home to a dead chicken and dead plants. And it's just a lesson that you learn. There's heartbreak, if that comes with gardening. Animals die, plants die, things happen, and you just have to learn what to do better next time and move forward. So how many people in here have a garden already? Awesome, that makes me so happy. How many people in here want to start a garden very soon? That's a good amount. How many people are they don't really care about gardening too much, but they're just slightly curious and they're not sure if they're going to be moving forward with it or not?
We live in an apartment and I'm afraid of spiders.
Well, both of those issues could be addressed. Okay, well, then I won't focus too much on getting started because most of the room already has an active garden. But I will say, for those of you who do not have a garden yet, I would say, I'm skipping forward. Let me backtrack. First, I want to make sure everybody understands the cycle. So before you get started, I want you to make sure you understand the cycle of life and how it works. When things die, Mother Nature eats them up and they decompose. Wind, water, sun, bugs, animals create this decomposition process. And the substance that is left at the end is soil. And that is the foundation of your garden, is the soil. You have to have nutritious, wonderful, fantastic soil, or you will not have nutritious, wonderful, fantastic food. That is just the plain and simple truth of the matter. So you need to understand how the process works. And that means that things should be dying and working their way into your soil and becoming part of the earth. I am not a fan of looking out and seeing bare soil with just garden plants sticking up, because that's not the way Mother Nature operates. Mother Nature has an entire ecosystem in the soil, and it starts at the top with larger debris, which you can create yourself with mulch, chopped up wood, yard clippings. You can create your own mulch at the top, and as Mother Nature eats it, it becomes less and less chunky, less and less sticky, and it turns into wonderful, amazing soil. And so this is a process that is always happening in Mother Nature, and that I believe many traditional gardens rob from their plants, this cycle of life in the soil, the decomposition process. So I would say one of the most important things for you all to consider with this cycle of life and how it works is that if you are trying to be the provider of everything, I'm going to have, I'm going to tear up the land and I'm going to put in seeds and I'm going to have to put, nest seeds, fertilizers on it because I've ripped all the nutrients out of the soil. Your plants aren't going to be that nutritious. But if you work with Mother Nature and you work with the way she was designed to operate, you are going to have a thriving, thriving garden. So understanding the cycle of life, you need things dying in the soil, decomposing. You don't want rotting vegetation because that can make the stalk of your plant rot, but you do want wood, sticks, things that would fall from trees and that would naturally in your area be decomposing in the soil. So we go through our property and we collect wood and we use that for mulch. We also cut down grass. Our yard, I'm a big advocate of totally overgrown yards for the chickens, for them to hide from the hawks. There's a lot of hawk attacks and for bugs and for them to eat the greens. So we just go out and we'll cut down a whole bunch of grass, use that as hay mulch on top of our bed. This also helps to keep moisture in. Mother Nature has a natural, means of holding moisture into the ground. When you have a waterlogged stick on top of the ground, it holds moisture longer than the soil next to it. So this mulching process provides moisture, it provides protection to the soil from wind and water erosion, and it really helps to maintain the stability of the garden bed. Some people, there's a Garden Back to Eden, is that what it's called, Taylor? The DVD?
I use Back to Eden techniques. It's high chips. I use a lot of
Okay, so
chips.
there's a movie, write it down if you want to check it out. I think you can find it for free on Netflix.
BackToEdenFilm.com.
BackToEdenFilm.com. And this is a fruit orchard gardener who started out with a fruit orchard and now does all sorts of plants. And he just uses mulch, only mulch. And he just uses wood chips. He found a local tree cutting company that wanted something to do with their wood chips, and they bring them to him for free. They dump them on his property. And that is what he uses, and he doesn't fertilize, he doesn't add, he doesn't water. He just puts down wood chips every year, wood chips every year, wood chips every year from local trees in the area that provide the proper nutrients for the area. And that he's a big fan of that. I like to do a hybrid approach. I like to take a little bit of everything that works. So I do put wood chips on the top. So the soil is really important. You also need proper sun and water. Plants, just like us, are mostly made of water, so they need proper water. You don't want to drown them, but they do need proper water. They need proper sunlight, and that can sometimes be a challenge to figure out. One of the best ways for me, I used to overwater plants all the time, and I really learned to just watch the plants and to feel the soil. And if I stick my finger in like an inch and I can't find any moisture and it's the rainy season, I'll water it. Since I'm in Texas, we deal more with drought than anything, as we learned the hard way. So our biggest problem is keeping water in the soil, but yet I would still overwater. So, it's a balance that you have to find on your own. And for me, in our region, doing this, touching the soil physically was the only way for me to make sure that it had enough water, because it would just suck up so fast. 73 days in a row of over 100-degree weather last year. It was awful. Everyone's garden died. It was awful. We had little cucumbers about this big, and they just shriveled up. Cucumbers shriveled up. It's the most heartbreaking thing ever. But every single organic gardening group, everyone was like, I just pulled it, people were just not doing it. This is awful. So there are solutions to that, like aquaponics, which I'll talk about in a minute as well. Another part of the process that's important to understand is that bugs pollinate your food. So bees and wasps are actually really good to have around the garden. Even though they sting, you just need to learn to avoid them because they are one of the most beneficial aspects to your garden. Just don't put your hand on them, don't swat on them, don't go after their nest, and they'll leave you alone. And what they're going to do is they're going to go through and they're basically going to spread the pollen between plants in the flowers that bloom. And at the base of that bloom is where the fruit or vegetable is going to form. Which, I didn't know that when I first started gardening. I had no idea what the process was like, so I figure there's some of you who don't either. It's literally the base of the flower, and it turns into the fruit or vegetable that you have. And so that explains how important having these insects around. She sees a doggy, it's her doggy noise. Yeah, she gets really excited. And then, so thinking of Mother Nature, these bugs go around, they pollinate the flowers turn into fruit. The fruit is either eaten by birds, insects, or it's just dropped onto the ground. And what happens, it rots, it decomposes. These seeds then, seeds in nature have a time cycle and they know when to bloom. We have bred that out of our seeds for the most part, our food
Monsanto.
seeds. So the seeds are really dependent on you right now to, food seeds, tomato seeds. You need to plant them at the right time, or you're doing them a disservice because they will start to sprout when after you plant them, no matter what time of year it is. They don't know the way an acorn knows to pop up after the winter. Yeah, we have a 4-season grow season in Texas. So we have a Central Texas planting book that is put out by the Outreach Extension Institute organization, whatever that is. I can't remember what they're called. But yeah, like every community has them. It's like a extension agriculture thing. And it says each month what to start from seed, what to start from seedling in Central Texas. And so we go by that gardening book, and I'm sure they have them for every area. I wouldn't get a state-specific one. I would get a region-specific one. Central Texas is like 3 counties, and so that we have a gardening book for that tells us when to plant. Now up here, you guys don't have a year-round growing season unless you've got a nice heated greenhouse. So, that's something to keep in mind as well, that canning is really important in this part of the country because you need to be able to provide for yourself year-round, even when your garden's not growing.
Also here, you have to wet in the spring. Mulch in the spring, still mulch. Can't mulch your garden until about this time of year when it gets hot.
So summer is the mulching time in this region. Write that down.
In most of the summer, and most of the fall, you bed, you pull it all off in the spring, and put it back in.
Nice. So do y'all hear that? Mulch in the summers, mulch in the fall, and pull it all off for the spring because it's so wet. You don't want it to drown your plants.
Yeah, I kind of do the opposite down in North Carolina.
Yeah, it's totally different.
And in North Carolina, it's opposite.
I pull all the wood out of pathways up into the garden bed right after I put everything on the ground. And then I put new stuff in the pathways. And then the next spring I put all that into the garden. So that's how I renew the garden. Each year I put the new stuff in the bed out of the pathway and then pull it up into the bed after.
So what she does in her region is she puts down the mulch in the pathway and then pulls it up the next year for the garden bed and puts new mulch in the pathway. And that's how she prepares it for the bed next year. That's a really interesting idea. I like that.
What about greenhouses for tough climates?
Yeah, greenhouses are ideal. As I said, you can only grow year-round down here if you have a heated greenhouse. We would need one for the summer months in Texas.
I have some examples of hot greenhouses.
I'm sorry.
Composting to heat greenhouses. I've seen examples.
Yeah. There's all sorts of interesting ways to heat your greenhouse without the use of electricity. You can use compost for that. There's all sorts of different solar things that you can set up, reflections. So there's all sorts of ways that you could set up a really, truly sustainable greenhouse here in this region, which would be really neat to do. So now that I understand the process of how it works, that was something I didn't totally understand when I first started gardening. So I figured that out. Like, wow, there's a fruit growing in the base of that flower. It was awesome to me. It was really exciting. So I wanted to share that. For getting started, I would recommend sticking to just 2 or 3 plants to start out with. For me, the easiest things that I had were 4 things: tomatoes, basil, beans, and squash. I had really good luck with those. They were simple, they were easy. I've had a hard time starting the tomatoes from seed, but when I have a transplant, I do wonderful. And we have a friend who we do a barter deal with in Central Texas. He starts all of our stuff from seed. I plant it all, and we kind of share responsibilities that way. And I can keep a seedling alive. I can't necessarily get stuff to come up from seed. That's something that I'm learning, and working on. So. Tomatoes, basil, beans, and squash. That's what I had the easiest time with. They just grew awesome for me. Other things I kind of, messed up on every now and again. Use what you have to get started. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money. Use what you have. Use the soil on your property. Use your own yard. Use the flower bed. Use whatever pots you have. Use what you have. Don't go spend money. It's okay. You can start with what you have, where you're at, and just build up. And as you go, create mulch from your own property. Just use what you have. Move forward slowly. As you gain in resources, you can direct them toward, I need to go buy a bag of mulch, or I need to go do this or that. You can start slowly directing resources, but you can just start out with some seeds and some water and your backyard. And start where you are with what you have and build slow. Don't go out and spend $1,000, because you'll probably spend it on the wrong stuff the first time you shop anyway, as we've learned the hard way at our house. Add more each season. I try to grow the garden every time a new season, planting season comes around. Add new things, try new vegetables, So this summer I'm trying some new things, tomatillas, which I'd never grown before, some different types of tomatoes that I hadn't grown before. I'd never grown watermelon before. I'm growing that this year, So I added some things this summer, that I'm trying and experimenting with, and I feel more confident about the things that I grew the last 2 summers, because I've done it 2 summers in a row, and it's just kind of going through the motions for me now. I feel like I know how to deal when the squash plant gets powdery mildew on it. Like I can go out and deal with it because I've done it before, and it's not as stressful and overwhelming. And sometimes things happen, your plants get diseased or whatever. The internet is a huge blessing. YouTube. You can watch how-tos on anything gardening. It's awesome. You could spend days just sitting there watching YouTube videos. So any question that you have, YouTube will have the answer. If YouTube doesn't have the answer, post on your Facebook, and all your gardening friends will have so many ideas for you that you will be like, okay, it's going to take 5 years to implement all this, but I'm excited about it all, And I would recommend you start a compost pile immediately, because as I said, your food are eating the soil, your soil is eating decomposing food, and if you are buying good, organic, healthy food, that is good food for your garden too. If you have table scraps, if you have leftovers, don't throw that away. It makes my heart just, oh my God, when I see things on the trash can, I just can't. I'm like, give me that, I'll take it home. I don't care if I'm 3 states away, I'll take it home. I want to go those things. Yes.
Are you composting meat and bones and things?
We have a meat bucket, and it feeds our chickens with larvae. We actually went through 3 cycles of this to get it down right, but we have a hanging bucket that has holes drilled all over it. If we have a chicken die, or if we have meat scraps, if we barbecue, we put those into the bucket, and flies come to eat it. They lay their eggs, larvae are born, they drop out, the chickens have a heyday. And you would be surprised, an entire chicken, if we don't know the cause of death, we're not going to eat it. We dealt with some predator issues about 6 months ago. We lost about 10 chickens, and it was rough. But we figured out, hawks, not our friend, we figured out ways to deal with those situations. But those maggots and those flies, we eat an entire chicken in like 36 hours, just gone. It's crazy. And the chickens love it. So that's how we deal with it. There are different ways that you can compost meat. Don't put meat in your garden compost pile, because it takes way too long to decompose, and it will basically kill your plants. There is a really good book. It's called the Humanure Composting book. I think we actually have it, 1 copy at our booth. And because a lot of humans eat meat, so you can't compost your own, droppings, if you will. Whereas you can with, chickens or horses. And so this book is all about how to compost your own waste into fertilizer, but it takes years. It doesn't take months, whereas rotting vegetation doesn't take as long. So we do those separate.
Do you use fungi?
I don't use fungi currently, but I'm interested in that. I set up a worm bed on the farm that I lived in, which there's all sorts of ways you can compost. You know, there's vermiculture composting with worms. There's uses of fungi. There's just the big heap and pile in the backyard that you turn over and make sure it has sun and water and things like that. And if you live in an apartment, you can compost as well. The Japanese actually pioneered this composting method in white tubs. And I haven't studied it because I haven't lived in an apartment in a long time, but I knew some people who utilized it and they learned how to do it on YouTube. So if you just want to look for like Japanese bucket composting, and you'll find the YouTube how-tos so you can compost in your apartment. If you have a a container garden on your balcony in your apartment, you can compost in your kitchen and then use that as fertilizer, and that's a pretty good way to do it. And it's in a sealed container, you can't smell anything. I don't know the details on it though, so you'd have to look it up. Japanese bucket composting. So basically, the next thing I want to talk about quickly were 4 important tactics that we utilize in our garden or that we want to utilize moving forward. The first is companion planting. Planting fruits and vegetables and herbs that are happy to be near each other and complement each other in the garden. We have an awesome book called How to Grow More Vegetables, and it's a real big book. I think we might have brought 2 copies with us. Just because that's all we had. The bookstore itself out immediately at Regular Books, called How to Grow More Vegetables, and there's an entire section on companion planting, and it lists tomatoes grows well with, hates this. So it shows what complements them and it shows what not to plant them with. And so some of the companions, there's the traditional companion planting that you can use, which is corn, beans, and squash. You plant the corn, it grows the stalk for the beans to grow up, and the squash provides living mulch on the ground, the vine plants. That is something that the Native Americans did, corn, beans, and squash. It's just a time-tested companion planting. Here's a lesson that I learned. Don't plant all those seeds at the same time because those beans and squash grow a lot faster than the corn. So we have 2 corn stalks coming out of our corn, bean, and squash bed, and like a bazillion squash and beans. So we overshadowed our corn, only 2 of them made it. That was a lesson that I learned just a month and a half ago. So, we're learning every time we plant. So you want to plant that corn first, let it get up to, a good, I'd say, foot, and then plant those beans and squash, and then everything should grow up complementing each other. So there's a lesson learned. Tomatoes grow really well with roses and parsley. So we have a tomato, rose, parsley bed that gets planted around our house. I think roses planted outside your window is a great way to add protection from burglars, people coming into your house. So why not just plant roses, parsley, and tomatoes all inside your house, and you've got an added layer of protection as well. That's how our bedroom is protected. Side note, I also learned that you can clone roses this year, which is really exciting to me. If you cut them in the thick part of the stalk, you can plant them. So now instead of having 2 rose bushes in our backyard, I've got like 6 other little ones going, and I have them outside of each of our windows. So if you have a rose bush and you want the security, you can clone them. Watch out, do it on YouTube first. And you can plant them outside your windows for gardening security, which I am a fan of. Tomatoes also grow well with mint as a companion tomatoes. So when I had a mint plant that wasn't doing well, in the pot that I had it in, I had a big section of my tomato area. Mint grows crazy, so don't plant it anywhere you don't want it to grow wild. But I planted it on the side of our patio, and because I figured the wind comes tearing across our yard all the time, I want to have a mint-smelling patio. That's what I want. I grow as much as you want, mint, right? So I planted it near the tomatoes so it could complement them, but also provide, scent for our property. So companion planting is really important. Another one that I like to utilize is okra, basil, and peppers. Those 3 complement each other, and so you can plant okra, basil, and peppers together. So that's companion planting. You can find lists of companion plants on the internet, or you can buy a book like the one I mentioned, How to Grow More Vegetables. The next tactic that I like to utilize is square foot gardening. This is a great way to pack as much plant life into your bed, your garden, as possible to get the highest amount of food production. A lot of us will go out, we'll garden, we'll read the back of the packet, and it's like, okay, so 5 million seeds in a straight line, and then pull out the seedlings as they come up until they're spaced far apart. Why do you want to kill all that food every year, right? So why not just plant them in a grid in a spacing format that is decent for that particular fruit or vegetable? So for example, onions, you can plant 9 per square foot. So every 3 inches in a grid, you've got 9 per square foot. You can plant a whole bunch of onions in a bed. We had 56 onions in half of our bed this year, and we've had onions hanging in our living room for 4 months now, and we're still eating onions that we grew last winter. It's awesome. So, we had really highly productive bed because they just grew right next to each other, really close, and they still got nice and big and awesome. So you can use square foot gardening. There's an actual book called Square Foot Gardening. You can also watch YouTube videos about it. I think I only brought 1 copy of Square Foot Gardening because we took the train here, so I had each bag could only be 50 pounds. But that's a really fantastic book. It gives the best advice, in my opinion, in terms of how to plant stuff. I use square foot gardening in combination with companion planting. So if an okra is 1 per square foot, a pepper is 1 per square foot, and basil is 4 per square foot, I make my grid in my bed and I plant peppers, basil, okra, or I do every other okra and peppers and then do my basil in the perimeters. We use cinder blocks, so we've got the ability to plant herbs in the perimeter. So I combine companion planting and square foot gardening to add, optimal spacing as well as optimal companionship, I guess, with fellow plants. A lot of plants complement each other. The next tactic that we use, I mentioned earlier, is called hugoculture. And this is something that could be interesting for you all here. It's this concept of burying wood underneath the ground. And as it decomposes, it provides not only nutrients ongoing, but it aerates the soil as the wood decomposes, so soil will fall into the gaps. It also provides heat as it decomposes. And so you can plant your stuff earlier in the season, and you can it'll actually stay alive longer into the winter season because those roots are supported by the heat from decomposition. I would be interested in looking into the rainy region aspect of here, but the first video we watched was in Europe, in a really rainy country, I don't remember which one, and that was where we got the idea. So I think it would probably work out fine, but I would definitely want to check that out, yes? Okay, thank you. So hugoculture, you bury wood, you put your soil on top of it, and that provides ongoing nutrition, ongoing warmth. It also, if you reach a point where you have drought, because it retains water, it will then water your roots as well, and it aids in the, you want your roots to grow deep, not shallow. Deep roots, you want your roots growing deep for the healthiest plants, for the plants that can survive the most extreme weather changes. Some days in New Hampshire it's snowing, the next day it's sunny. If you have a deep-rooted plant, it can really survive that because it's more stable. So hugoculture helps with that, and that's spelled really weird. If I remember correctly, and John, correct me, it's Huggel space Kultur. It's a German word, hugoculture. And look that up on YouTube. It's really, really fantastic. We've had awesome results with it so far. Our garden is just through the roof productive. It's fantastic. Okay, so the last thing I want to mention is something that we have not yet implemented on our farmstead, but something that we want to do next, and that is aquaponics. And that is the use of fish and water to fertilize and provide nutrition to your plants, which then filter the water. They filter the fish, goo and all that, their wonderful manure that they provide. The plants filter that out, and they provide clean filtered water to the fish. And so it's an entire ecosystem that you can put in a greenhouse, and you can be growing food year-round. Year freaking round. You can have fresh fish in your backyard. You can have fresh fruits and vegetables, and you can grow some pretty exotic things this way. Now, this is not something that we have yet implemented. I've been to several training classes on it. We've had some classes at Brave New Books about it, and I'm really fascinated. There's different ways to do it, so you should look it up on the internet. I'm not going to speak too much about it, but basically, there's ways where you have a tiered system, where you have a bed up here whose water, and there's no soil in this, you just have a grow medium like rocks or coconut or something for the roots to grab onto. And there's a tiered system where water runs from this bed to this bed to this bed, this bed. It's filtered after going through all those vegetable beds, lands in the fish tank for filtered water for them, and then there's a pump that pumps the dirty water back up to the top, and so it's just a full system. Some of them have multiple tanks, some of them have multiple pumps. It really just depends if you're using gravity, if you're using electricity. They have manual ways of doing it. So there's all sorts of ways to do it. You can grow all types of fish. I would just, you know, yeah, I would look it up. But I'm interested in it too. So if anyone here does aquaponics, anyone here do it?
But there's a project in Milwaukee, Wisconsin called Growing Power.
Growing Power, I've heard of
They
that.
have amazing videos on the entire concept of the aquaculture and indoor gardening.
So look them up on YouTube, Growing Power, and they have all sorts of aquaculture, indoor gardening, urban gardening type of videos. So if I hear of anyone that's at PorcFest that is a current aquaponics person, I'll let the word out so that you can talk to them. I'm not that person. So the last thing I wanted to talk about are chickens, backyard chickens. They're the biggest blessing of my life, and I consider them a vital part of the garden for multiple reasons. First and foremost, they eat bugs. They eat lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of bugs.
Especially ticks and mosquitoes.
Yes, ticks, mosquitoes. They go nuts over scorpions. Yes, we have scorpions in Texas. Our chickens eat them. So they are just, I would not eat a scorpion myself, but they are a fantastic pest control. They'll sometimes eat small you know, rodents and stuff too, lizards, things like that. You know, probably not lizards here. But they do eat small stuff, and they also provide manure that you can compost in your compost and use in your garden. Don't put it directly on your garden because it can burn the plants. We do when we're first making a bed, we mix it in with the soil. When we're doing the hugelkultur and burying the wood, we do mix straight chicken manure in there, but never put it on top of your garden. It will burn your plants. Basically fertilizer burn is what it is, and you don't want that. It needs to be decomposed. It needs to have been processed by Mother Nature, you know, bugs, sun, water, all that, to be safe for your plants. Chickens also provide eggs, which are awesome. If you've ever had backyard chicken eggs, you will never want to eat eggs from anywhere else in your life. I mean, it's just, there's nothing that compares to going out in your backyard, picking up an egg, going inside, and cooking it for your family. It's amazing. They look different, taste different, smell different. They're fantastic. They are more nutritious for you as well, because especially if you have free-range birds that are out there eating from the earth and bringing in what your local ecosystem has to provide, you are thus getting those nutrients as well. And you know, fun fact is chickens, we do not like it also provides meat. I am a vegetarian. I do eat soup that we make from our chickens that we slaughter. I did try to eat the meat once, but it's been since 2003 and it did make me throw up. So I am not against eating meat. I'm just against factory farming. I became a vegetarian when I lived in a small town that only had a Walmart. There was no organic food. But I do eat the soup. I do try to have the beneficial qualities, you know, that come from the broth and the bones of the chicken. So if you're looking into chickens, these are things you need to consider before you do it. They need a safe place to roost. They need to be up high. They need to be away from predators. If you live in a really high predator area, some people lock theirs up at night. Ours just decided that they wanted to roost outside, so they roost outside. That's what cats and dogs are good for keeping away predators. As long as your own cats and dogs don't kill your own birds, which has been an issue in the neighborhood that we've had. They need nutritious food. Don't just give them feed. It's okay to supplement them with feed, especially if you're living in a neighborhood and you don't have access to 2.5 acres like we have. But you don't want them just eating feed. They need fresh food, just like you and I do. You don't want to eat a box of cereal every day the rest of your life. You want lettuce, you want fruits, you want certain things. So make sure that you are providing your chickens with table scraps, with fruits and vegetables. They need calcium. You can get them oyster shells to make sure they have calcium. If not, they might peck their own eggs and eat their own eggs. So make sure they have nutritious food. Make sure you research a well-rounded chicken diet before you get chickens so that from day one, your chickens are happy and healthy. Like I said, we have a meat bucket that provides the maggots, and they love it. There's like a hole this deep underneath of it from scratching, like hitting them. They love it so much. They need a place to nest and to lay their eggs. If you don't provide it for them, they will go create one. And it might be, you leave your freaking window open in your car that you drive once a week and you might find eggs on the floorboard. They need a small, safe place where they feel comfortable laying their eggs. And if you want them to sit on their eggs, it needs to be a place where they can also get out and have access to food and water and be safe from predators. We learned that lesson the hard way. We had some broody hens, which are hens that want to sit on their eggs and hatch their chicks. And we had them out in the middle of our yard where we were dealing with neighborhood dogs, and we didn't want them out unless our dog was outside, and that dog was an indoor dog, so he was only outside during the day and he came at night. So, we had to physically pick up their nesting spot and move it into the coop because they had become broody and were laying on their eggs outside. So that's something to keep in mind. They need a safe place to sleep up high at night. They need a safe place to lay eggs, and they need access to water, fresh water. If your water's fluoridated at home, if you filter it for yourself, you should be filtering it for your birds. They also need protection from predators. The biggest predator in our neighborhood has been neighbor dogs. The second biggest is hawks. And we've had a couple of unknown, things, but most signs have pointed to dogs and hawks. So the best protection against a dog is another dog, a guardian dog. People always suggest to me, because our dog has passed away, oh, get a herding dog. It's like, no, you don't want something to herd your chickens. It will give them a heart attack if you die. You need a guardian dog, and Newfoundland, an animal that is bred to guard flocks, not one that is bred to move them. So keep that in mind. And here's another thing. Yes, listen to everyone's advice, but only if they actually have a garden. Okay? Like a lot of people say, well, my grandma told me this, or my so-and-so told me this. Don't listen, because they have no clue what they're talking about. Only listen to people who are out there doing it themselves. So that's my overview of gardening, some tips, things, lessons that I've learned myself. I hope it has been useful. Does anybody have any questions right now?
What kind of chickens do you have? Do you know?
Oh, what kind of chickens do I have? I'm a firm believer in not having purebred animals as a whole, just because, my dad's a veterinarian, and purebred animals, dogs, have more health problems. So we have taken in rescue chickens from people in the suburbs who are getting rid of their chickens. We have all sorts of chickens. They lay brown eggs, blue eggs, green eggs, white eggs, pink eggs, big, small, and I'm letting them interbreed. And I want to create my own Central Texas hardy mutt breed of chickens. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm a firm believer in. I've had better luck with getting chickens from local farmers than buying them on the internet. Birds, even if they're non-GMO, organic, you buy them on the internet, they're shipped to you, they're traumatized, and we've had a high death rate of chicks that have come through the mail.
Yeah, getting them locally, you could probably actually see the conditions they're coming from too, which I love too.
Yes. And so most of the chickens that we have, we actually went to the place where they were and got to them and took them home. So we could see where they came from, we could see what they were fed, we could see what the other chickens look like. And I recommend, first, buy them as adults. Don't try and incubate your eggs the first time. That's not fun. Start as adults. They're already laying. You can get that down. Then, buy some chicks. Raise them from chicks. Make sure you know how to take care of a chick. Get that down. Then incubate your eggs. Figure out how that works. Or let your chicken sit on it. But I wouldn't start from chicks because they're a little bit more delicate. They're a little bit, more difficult to take care of. And I also feel like our chickens that were hatched underneath other birds are more social, they're more confident than the ones that we incubated because they never had a mother. And so I think just as in humans, a mother's really important, and I didn't realize that until I saw the way the mother interacted with her chicks, from the get-go, and how it really seemed to help them feel confident walking through the yard, to go hunt and things like that. So I'm a firm believer in mutts. Some of the common ones that are, like brown eggs, like Rhode Island Reds, New Hampshire Reds, those are good.
We have Aracunas.
You have Aracunas?
Yeah, which we lay the Easter eggs for different
yes,
colors.
we have some Easter eggs too.
And they're no two Aracunas are alike. They're an unstable genetic breed, so they're all kinds of genetic as far as colorways go. It's
yes, the Easter eggers are really cool looking birds. If you want to try blue and green eggs, that's a really fun way to go.
We get blue, green, pink. We get all kinds of colors.
Yeah,
really
they're awesome. So I would look into those. They look really neat too. But we save the feathers. I make earrings. And
oh yeah, yeah. A tip of advice that we learned as far as predators is we also keep guineas.
Yes, guineas are a great guardian
bird
for your property.
If there's a predator nearby, they are. Oh, and that's another thing.
They will alert.
They will alert you. So that's another thing to keep in mind.
They'll alert when a leaf falls from a tree.
Yeah.
They alert all day. There's no longer an alarm when it happens 20 times a day.
Chickens are crazy, but guineas are freaking insane. The moment anything happens, it's like, I caught myself a fisher, a raccoon. I mean, that's how I was started able to catch the predators is with the guineas. They
yes,
let me know when
guineas. Guineas are good. Geese are good. They're another livestock guardian. The geese on the property that I was on for 6 months. I mean, someone would come through the gate, which was through the woods, way off. We would have never known. And the order of animal alert was geese, then the dogs. No, it was geese, chickens, dogs, and then we could see the car coming. So like, we had a layer of alarms that came off.
The guineas are interesting too. That they actually require less feed, whereas like a chicken, like 80% of their diet is insects. The guineas are like 95% insects.
So guineas eat 95% insects, so it's also give them less feed. I've also read, there's a book called The Resilient Gardener, and they advocate ducks over chickens, and I'm interested in ducks.
I tried ducks. I had problems with ducks.
You had problems with them?
They're very, very messy, and they are literally sitting ducks for predators, and they bring the predators in.
Yeah, they have a hard time getting away from predators, but they also can only jump so high, so
yes.
they can't get into your garden.
The guineas will fly into the trees whenever there's a predator, and they'll just honk like crazy. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Yes.
I do.
I'll repeat the question.
With the wood compost, you put the wood in the soil. Have you found that there's certain types of wood that are better than others? I mean,
I think whatever is local to your backyard first, your neighborhood next, and then the region. Regional is going to be better. Don't plant things that are toxic to plants, like cedar. You don't want to put into the ground. That's not going to do well.
I have a big pine in the yard. I mean, sometimes we use the pine needles on the garden. Most of the time we use ground clippings.
Yeah.
Because the pine needles are good.
She's got an answer for you.
Okay.
And I'll repeat it.
Pine needles are very acidic, so they're very acid and blueberry bushes. If you add it to your compost or your garden, you have to add a lot more lime. Change the pH also.
Yeah, I think we stop doing the pine.
Okay, so everyone hear that? Pine needles are highly acidic, and if you add them to your garden, they could change the pH. And there are pH testing kits that you can get for your garden. Yes.
I have a row of Jerusalem artichokes, which is one story. Yeah. And then my next row, permanent stuff, is the blueberries, which I do mulch with the pine needles.
So mulching blueberries with pine needles because you want the acidic.
And of course, hydrangeas and stuff like that, like the acidic stuff. But then I grow my onions in there too, along the edge. Because the onions like the acidity.
So the onions like the acidity too. I'm learning new.
Yeah.
That's being recorded. So I'm not
So
writing it down.
my companion planting is a little different from experience.
That's awesome. That's good.
But yeah, I do the cilantro, onions, radishes, and lettuce.
Cilantro, onions, radishes, and lettuce.
Blueberries.
Around the blueberries. Nice. That's awesome. Yes.
How many years have you done this?
I moved on to that small farm in the summer of 2010. So 2 years, that's it. But I learned a lot because I kind of just dove in head first. I don't know it all though. I'm learning every day. Yes.
I live in a condo and I just have a back deck. Is there any plants that are really good for like bucket gardens or something?
She was asking if there's any good bucket garden plants. I personally had really good luck with tomatoes in buckets. I had good luck with peppers in buckets. Onions didn't grow bigger than the onion sets that I planted in there. I had bad luck with that. And I read that thyme is a really good bucket herb. I've done basil okay. Does anyone else have any things that do well in buckets?
I have both Asian pears. Depends on how much light you have against. Southern, eastern, western, north side. On the north side, don't try and grow anything.
So don't try and grow on the north side. The sunlight will be a problem.
Yeah, I'm doing green beans, peppers, tomatoes, broccoli. I've done all sorts of herbs, lettuce, spinach. Radishes will grow, but greens not. I've done the carrots, little pumpkin ones, short ones.
Yeah, we had little carrots.
They're really hard to do. And tomato keeps it. That's the thing that you want. One tomato goes in a 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah, look at your square foot gardening chart and then make it bigger for buckets because buckets have limited access to water and they dry out faster. So you know to make sure they have more. Okay, there's 2 questions and I'm going to give them 30 seconds each and then we're going to have to call it quits because it's noon and people need to move on. Yes.
Actually, it's not a question. It's addressing that Pinterest is a godsend for information on vertical gardening and what to do in the small spaces. I have actually I've joyously spent many times more than my natural limit for online time looking at the suggestions that people have and even like reusing different things that you would never even thought of.
So Pinterest. Go to Pinterest for vertical gardening, indoor gardening. I believe there's also a lot of good outdoor gardening. Yep. Pinterest is just a really useful place. I use Tumblr as my blog, blushfamilyfarm.com. It's just a photo blog, really. But there's a whole lot of gardening blogs on Tumblr, too, that have a lot of good advice. Okay, last question.
Does it get a reference to gardening in Canada? I tried to Thompson termites. They're really cheesy. And also unclose things that you can harvest immediately.
Okay, so this advice is to use the topsy-turvy planter for tomatoes. She had really good luck with it. I had really bad luck with it in Texas, but that's because water and heat is an issue, so the things dry out really fast. Aha, 2 liter on top, upside down water. It's a great idea. And then what was the second thing you said?
Things you can harvest immediately.
Things you can harvest immediately, things that don't have to grow really big. So like, little peppers or beans or basil, things like that.
Mushrooms. Mushrooms are really good indoors if you don't have mushrooms.
Mushrooms are good indoors. All right. Okay, well, thank you all for coming. I hope you learned something. I know I did.